Coming up, 2 collectibles terms that makes buying from sellers just a little bit easier, a great question from one of our viewers, and lots more. You're watching Collectibles Corner TV, the show for savvy collectors. I'm Tammy Fennell, and first up we're going to talk about condition. Now, in collectibles, condition is everything, so each week I'm going to go over a couple of terms and examples. The first term I want to talk to you about is foxing. Foxing is a term describing the age-related spots and browning seen on vintage paper and documents. You see it a lot on books, postage stamps, certificates, and so forth. The name we think could derive from the fox-like reddish-brown color of the stains or the rust chemical ferric oxide, which could also be involved. Paper that's affected by this is said to be foxed. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is crazing. I get emails from people saying, Tammy, help, my figurine looks like it has spider webs growing all over it. Now, what that really is it's crazing. Crazing is hairline cracks in the glaze of a porcelain piece, and it won't really harm your piece structurally, but some people don't find it the prettiest thing to look at. I, for one, don't mind it, and if it's light, I think it could add an antique-y look, but it's preference, really. Generally, a piece that's free from crazing would bring a higher price. Now it's time for some viewer questions with Ask Tammy. In this section, I'll answer viewer questions, and you could submit them in the Ask Tammy section that should be running along the top of the page at collectiblescornertv.com. This question is from Marie in Colorado. Marie writes, Hi Tammy, what is a good figurine collectible to start with if I really have no idea about collecting? Well, Marie, first it's important to find something that you like. Cowboy Gnomes, for example, by Goebel. They're not everyone's cup of tea. I happen to like them, but I guess the idea of having a bunch of little men with hats all over your house freaks some people out. If you want the feeling of completion, you're going to want to start with some kind of a smaller series. The gnomes that I mentioned, there's only around 60 of them in total, so it's quite an easy collection to finish, and that's important to many people. The other thing you can do is you could find a niche within a larger brand. So Hummel, for example, I know plenty of people who will only collect the Hummel Club figurines, so that makes it more realistic and manageable. Whatever it is that you choose, do keep it realistic. You want to set a goal and take your time, because part of the fun is the thrill of the hunt. Marie from Colorado is the lucky winner of 3 months of Collectibles for the Future, which is a monthly publication about antiques and collectibles. We call it the ultimate resource for savvy collectors. You can subscribe at www.collectiblesforthefuture.com. Be sure to ask me your question, and it may even get read on the show. Now it's time for a treasure hunter tip. This week I've found a great resource for you. It's called Bid Slammer, and you can link to it on this page. This is a neat little tool that snipes auctions on eBay in the last seconds. I don't know about you, but it's happened to me all too often. I put a bid on, and then all of a sudden I refresh my page when it ends, and someone outbids me by about $1 or a few dollars or 50 cents in the last few seconds. It's absolutely maddening. But with Bid Slammer, you can have 2 options. You can pay by the month, or you can pay per snipe, and it's really economical. Only about $1 per snipe in the pay per snipe option. It's totally worth it because you never lose. You get what you want, and you tend to get a better price if you're bidding in the last few seconds. If you like this treasure hunter tip, tune in regularly, and you'll find out more information that other collectors just don't know about. You may have noticed my dog Skoda has jumped up on the seat for this section because it's very cold where we're filming and there's just no getting her off, so she'll be joining me for this section. This episode, I was lucky enough to go to Liverpool, England, to find out a bit more about Beatles memorabilia. In March 1957, John Lennon formed a group called the Quarrymen. Lennon met Paul McCartney on July 6, 1957, and added him to the group just a few days later. On February 6, 1958, George Harrison was invited to watch the group, and he joined the Quarrymen as the lead guitarist after rehearsal in March 1958. Lennon and McCartney both played rhythm guitar during that period, and after the original Quarrymen drummer Colin Hanson left the band in 1959, the band had a high turnover of drummers. When starting a Beatles collection, the sky's really the limit because there's just so many items that were produced. There's also a bunch of different price points. Beatles Monthly, for example. You can buy these publications for around $10 to $15 a piece, but the first 5 are harder to obtain and could run you between $100 and $200 per piece. Autographs are always highly sought after, and the most coveted one is that of John Lennon. Be very careful of fakes, though, and always make sure you have a reputable seller. Whenever possible, you'll also want a certificate of authenticity. Below this video, there's a list of certification companies that eBay has deemed untrustworthy, so you'll want to steer clear of any authentication by them. Many people like having Beatles posters around the house. They really lighten up the house and they bring that 60s vibe. You could buy originals that could run you from $500 to $1,000 or even more, but there's also very many reproductions that are nice and they do capture the spirit of the time, but for a fraction of the cost. Pins are also kind of fun to collect, and there's a very low barrier to entry, with many sets running under $20. My husband's Uncle John was nice enough to show us around Liverpool and show us one of the first clubs that the Beatles ever played at. If you listen closely, he really does sound like a Beatle. Hi, standing outside of the Beatles shop here in Liverpool, in England. And here they have some fantastic memorabilia. This is Matthew Street, and we're here in Liverpool, in England. Okay, tell us about where we are.
Okay, so we're in Matthew Street, and this is the Cabin Club where the Beatles were discovered in the 60s.
There they are. Look at them. Thank you. Here's my friend John. We're quite close, really. And that was this week's edition of Tammy on the Road. This show is sponsored in part by... For over 20 years, Just Kids Nostalgia has been the best source for pop culture collectibles. Whether you're interested in collecting movie, TV, comic character, World's Fair, advertising, sports, or rock and roll, you'll find something of interest there. Take a look at their site, www.justkidsnostalgia.com. And by VintageRareStuff.com. If you have a Hummel collection, Yadro collection, any kind of figurine or comic book collection that you're looking to sell, take a look at www.VintageRareStuff.com and you could put it on consignment with us. We run your items on eBay and you could watch the progress as it happens. All of the links mentioned in today's show will be featured underneath this video on www.collectiblescornertv.com. You may have noticed we also have a classified ads section on the top of the page at collectiblescornertv.com. If you have something that you're looking to sell and you'd like to reach thousands of people, go to the classified ads section and read more about it. Well, that about wraps it up for us. Depending on where you found us, we may not have your email on file, so you're going to want to be sure and type in your name and email on any page on collectiblescornertv.com. This way we can keep you updated about new episodes. Tune in next week where we have 2 more great terms for collectors and a treasure tip you just don't want to miss. I'm Tammy Confennel, and this is Collectibles Corner TV, the show for savvy collectors.